Alright, I'm just changing my jet today, so I thought I'd get the camera out and show you. Here's a little plastic piece that goes on there. Inside of here, there is a piece of rubber seal that sits over this. That gives you a nice tight fit. You tighten up this little screw. That gets rid of your air gap. Here's the fuel cock, the fuel line, the fuel filter coming in. Don't have to remove any of that. What I need to do, I guess, is just to sit this here. Actually, I'm just going to turn it off. Here's the bowl. I just have to undo the bowl, and then I'll get at the little jet. So back in 1 second. Okay, so we're back at it. Here's your little jet here, the little brass screw with the got a tiny little hole in it with the little pattern inside of it. Here's the float bowl pin. Inside of there is the float needle valve. Here's choke lever. Okay, so all we're going to do is take this brass screw out and put in a different one, number size 58 jet. So 1 second, I'll get that all put together. And okay, so I've changed the jet. There's a 58 jet. There's the old jet out. It's this little flathead screwdriver. Spin that out. Put the next one in. Next thing is going to put the fuel bowl on. And inside of the top here, there is a very thin rubber O-ring gasket that you do not want to disturb. So I'm just going to put the camera on my knee while I fit this together here. And this does have a pattern or shape to it that you have to match. It's pretty easy once you get it lined up. Okay, there we go. It only fits one way, so don't worry about that. It's it's pretty easy to do. You need to snug one up a little bit, almost tight, then the next one almost tight. I should have put my glasses on for this here. You get older and everything gets a little blurry. Except for some things in life. Okay, spin that tighter by hand, speed this up. This one. And there we go, a little better light, that helps. So it's just going to go. You don't have to go super tight, just goes, you know, where it kind of stops and give a little bit. I think that's all that's required here. Make sure your screwdriver is not, you know, catching. So you get it, okay? And that's good. And that little rubber O-ring seal shall fit in there nice. Okay, now this is where it gets tricky. I don't know how you can see this, but I gotta get this back on here and fit the rest of the pieces back together. So first thing is we'll just try and get this part lined up on here, because this is kind of the tough one. And what I do is I kind of just wiggle it back and forth gently. Try not to, you know, side to side, but just back and forth here and snug it right up onto the plastic. Okay, so that gives me a nice fit there. I'm not going to tighten it down just quite yet because I might need to manipulate a little bit. Here's the nice mesh air filter. And I'm getting a little bit of use out of that, and that just fits right in here. And this is a setup you can run like just a race setup like this. But what I'm going to do is I take the stock air filter box, and I just took scissors. I bent this back, this flange, and I cut this flange out. So it just barely fits, but it does fit. But it's, you know, kind of a pain in the ass. But you want to get a nice, you know, air seal here with the rubber going over it. And it just gets close to the frame, so it doesn't give you, you know, a lot of finger room to work and on the back side here and everything. And I think what I did last time was I put the rubber on like this, and then I took my air filter box, stock air filter box, and I notice I left the flange out like that, and I will just mate it up in contact here, because this is just, you know, kind of easier. You just fit that inside of there, and you can kind of push that a little bit. It gives you a little bit of support. Now you kind of got to push it a little bit in, but see how easy that went in? Because, you know, I invented it. I've done it a couple times. And then you just want to check your seal here, and you can see I'm just barely getting enough, but I am getting enough to go, you know, all the way around on the flange. So let me just manipulate that for a little bit, and you know, it doesn't have to cover it extensively. It just has to get onto this front surface area. Okay, and now that's all good, looking good, and you want to just maybe level out your carb and everything. And then now I just have to tighten stuff down. So I'll start with, I guess the most important one is this, and just check how you're fitting on the pipe. I moved it, so let me just touch it all again. Okay, so first one is tighten this one down. There's a little nut on the back side here if you haven't worked with these before. This is a Dellorto stock 14 carb, brand new, with maybe, you know, just a few miles on it. And I'm just trying to set up my jet now, because you can see there's a different color here. I got the bike used, but we're suspecting there is a kit in here that still looks like the 14mm tube for the 1412 Dellorto, and all back together stock. And you don't need very many tools to work on this bike, so let's try and get the camera set flat here. So let me just make sure I got this nice, because, you know, we're gonna do it, you know, do it right. Okay, so this all goes on here, and I'm just gonna, oh, I wish I had just a touch more room in the back here, because it's just like I said, it's hard to get your fingers back in there to you know, manipulate. But I'm pretty happy with this. I think I have a, you know, a good air seal, because the problem is the carburetor, you get a lot of noise coming back out the motor through the pipe through the carburetor. With just that little racing type air filter set up on it, it's spanking loud. So I wanted to put the stock air box on it just to act really more of a noise muffler than anything else for the kickback. And there's a kid on YouTube who did this with this 21mm, so I didn't get the idea by myself, but it's not hard to copy a good thing when you see it. Okay, so that's a pretty good thing. Feeling the back, I'm all lipped over there, so I'm thinking I got a pretty good seal. And at this point, you know, you're trying to suck air in the carb right here anyway, so if there was a little leak or something, you wouldn't really have to cry about it. But you know, you like to have it all fit nice and just make it look like it's supposed to go like that. Okay, then there's a bolt here for the air filter box, and this is pretty well the one bolt here that holds the air filter box onto the bike. And I'll just screw that in so it gets tight, okay, because, you know, these things rattle. Here's the choke, so just double check that. Nothing changed there, it was all set up pretty perfect. And then I might want to be adjusting my little idle screw here now that I've changed the jet. So, and I wish I would have got that a little bit better on the back side, but I'm going to live with that for now, because I'm just testing it. Testing the setup, and if I'm finally happy with it, I might come back and just, you know, see if I can just make that a little bit prettier. So I'm gonna pop the cover on, I guess, because I think I'm dialed in, you know, and if I'm not, it's just so easy to take this cover off and get to it. And then you just gotta make sure that your choke lever here lines back up with your hole and stuff like that, so then you know you're in the right spot. And this, believe it or not, is the hardest piece to put back on here, because you have to line it up with the holes blind, and there, it just fit in too easy that time. I almost thought I wasn't even in the right spot. And it's one little side bolt like this. I don't know if you can see that, but I've got a washer with a little rubber end on it. So I'm just going to zip this back together, because, you know, there's nothing you need to learn here. And then the next thing will be trying to run the bike. Thanks. Okay, there's a little bolt back in, and the side cover's on. And we'll show you how we start this thing. You got to turn this little red thing to the right. And then the fuel line, turn that forward. And then there's a choke here as well. And that's it. Now you're ready to come over here and get the kickstart out and start it up. But since I just changed the jet, it's going to take a minute for a little gas to get into the carburetor. Kick it over a couple times and speed it up. Oh, I got a clip here, don't I? Just film me driving.